Congress passed a law limiting a president's ability to make war. And of course, presidents, again, just like in Vietnam, the wars we have now, our president finds a way to get the money. Oh yeah, I must mention the Vietnam War spread into Cambodia also, but eventually Congress said to Nixon, no, we're not going to give you money to fight this secret war in Cambodia. And Nixon had to pull the troops out of Cambodia. Well, the draft was abolished. I want to say this on a personal note. I mentioned how that you had to sweat the draft every month at one time. They finally pulled all the numbers out of a hat in one big lottery, and I drew a high lottery number. The federal government was told the local draft boards you cannot go higher than the number 190. My number was 206, the same number as my dorm room. I figured when I first drew the number 206, I would not have to go because my number was so high. Because again, it was just a one-time thing. You only sweat a draft one time in your life, and that was it.
So when you received your number, you received it by mail, or how did you?
No, you looked, I mean, they posted it on the newspapers. They posted it first on television. They pulled it out, and I was busy doing my work at the college. I did not see my number pulled up. But the next day, they posted it on the newspapers, and every newspaper had all the birthdays. So my birthday...
Oh, to mention your birthday, not your
It was your birthday. My birthday came up on number 206, and well, the first month, the draft boards told you can't go higher than number 30. Then you can't go higher than number 60. But eventually they said no draft board can go higher than number 190, so everybody who had numbers of 191 and above knew they could not get drafted. And then the next year, it was the young men first. I mean, so you only sweated the draft one time, and before that, you had to sweat it every month. Every month they draw your birthday out. And if you had a low number, you would be drafted. If you had a high number, you would escape it that month.
So how did you end up in the military? You joined...
I volunteered when I found this. All right. I left the teaching profession and found that once you left, you had a hard time getting another job. So I joined the National Guard. See, I was listening to the radio and I had a very unfruitful job search. In those days, if you found jobs like getting out in your car and going to employment offices, I had an unfruitful job search, and I heard the National Guard is looking for 10 more men. I was nearby and I drove up. And I joined. I was 30 years old. That's how I got, and I stayed in for 6 years. I don't regret it. By that time, the war was over, and it was a danger because my unit was called up to the Gulf War, but I was out by that time. I didn't stay in. You got in. Pretty good years of my life. It was hard, even for a guardsman. It was hard. But anyway, that was the story. Now, while I was teaching, I taught myself electronics, and that got me inside the door at Lockheed. And I stayed there for 27 years.
Did you like it there?
What's that?
Did you like it there?
No. I
Why did you do
got
it?
out as soon, okay, once you get in at Lockheed, okay, I was going to tell you, I stayed there because once you get in Lockheed, when you've been a teacher, and you don't have credentials, and you get a job, you had better stay with them because once you get out, you can't find anything else. Okay. Nobody wants to hire a former Lockheed employee, and I'll tell you why. It's not that we make a crummy product. It's because Lockheed employees are told to work slowly, slow down. The quality is more important than the quantity. Lockheed did not pay, I mean, I worked for a cardboard box company. They paid you on a bonus. The more boxes you made, the more money you made. Lockheed did not pay on the bonus. They wanted the work to be done right. And they actually told some of the workers, hey, you're working too fast. I mean, management, slow down a bit because haste makes waste. Then a lot of these places, they want fast, speed. No, Lockheed, slow down. Again, there's a quality type of product we were making, airplanes. They had to fly. Automobiles, you produce one every 30 seconds. You know, 30 seconds, another one comes out. 30 seconds, another one comes out. And they start the engine up and run it. An airplane, you don't do that. You don't start that airplane engine, you've run through thousands of inspections. Every wire has to be inspected, make sure it's right at both ends. That this wire goes where it's supposed to, and that wire goes where it's supposed to, and that takes time. airplanes, they gotta work, folk. Anyway, I stayed with it because I had been unemployed for 3 months, and I knew, hey, I better stick with the next job. I got a job and stuck with it till the day I got the first day I was eligible to retire. Day number 1, I got out. By that time, I was working here, part-time. But I got out on the first. I didn't like it. You do what your circumstances force you to do, folk. Fox News ran a special about part-time professors, that most of them are dedicated and really want to teach, and are treated like trash. In my case, they can fire me anytime. I tell myself I wouldn't care. I'll be 70 years old in less than 2 months. But what keeps me going statements like the rich have more money than they need and should be willing to distribute it to the poor who don't have enough. Somebody needs to say something. Well, we should open up our border and build bridge and let everybody in who wants to come in unrestrained. Oops, no. Somebody better say something. I mean, this actually, several of you students have said that. Several of you. Maybe one of you, some of you listen to me, and folk. What about letting the headhunters in? I mean, there are headhunters. What about letting the cannibals in? There are that kind of people. The only way, I mean, folk, it's like the American Indians. The only way you can deal with people like that, they're standing in the way of you building, factories, automobiles, airplanes, finding cures for diseases. The only way you can deal with it is to shove them aside and press forward. Now, if you don't like what I just said, I got some news for you. I don't like what I just said. And folks, I'm going to tell you, I feel highly uncomfortable saying what I just said. I do.
Well, other
I
countries
have
don't
to
let
say
you-
it, huh?
Other countries don't let you just stand like that.
No, well, hey, talk about walls. The Japanese don't have to build a wall around their country. Guess what? Hopefully they're an island, 4 islands. They don't need a wall, but they don't want foreign. So why not complain about them? If you're going to have a civilization, you've got to separate yourself, and even within a civilization, the rich have to separate themselves from the persons who are determined that they're not going to be rich, but they're going to try to leech off the people who are. I hope, again, I feel highly uncomfortable saying that, and hopefully, as you people get older, there's one law in the Constitution, I'm glad it's there. It says the President of the United States must be at least 35. A lot of you people are going to think differently by the time you're 30. If you get out like I did and start teaching in public school for 1 year, I don't know how many are going to be teachers. I believe it'll change your mind about a lot. I found out why the nobility wanted to separate itself from the poor common people. The fault lay with the common people themselves. The poor. And the nobles realized, hey, we're better than them. They really weren't, but in some ways they were. But where they made their mistake was they did not educate them. Because I came from poverty myself. And this nation is made up of people who were Europe's, Asia's, and Africa's outcasts. And made the greatest. So they should have tried to help the poor. The poor adults, forget them. They're going to be that way. But take the kids and try to educate them. And some of them would amount to something, and some of them would be contributors. But that's where they made the mistake. But I understand now why the nobles would separate themselves from the commoners. You can't bring these people up to their level. Their reasoning is altogether wrong. Their thinking is altogether wrong. And folk, I'll say this and I'll close. Pardon me, but your intelligence is showing. I can tell what your IQ level is, or not what it's going to remain, but what it is right now reading your papers. It's not just grammar mistakes and mistakes with your thinking patterns. The simple way of solving the problem is take everything that the rich has that they don't need and redistribute it. That's simple. But the actual result is going to be you'll have a society like the American Indians had. No rich. Yes, everybody's poor. Everybody is left out. Oh, for the Indians, that was something else. They had free health care, cradle-to-grave welfare. Health care was absolutely free, no cost. The food was free. The clothing was free. No money. And their cultural level was what I call zero. Okay, folks, be back next week. I hope more of you show up. If any of you have turned in a paper that I've graded and haven't given back to you, see me, I'll get it back to you. And about 5 or 6 people from the other class were supposed to show up to take up makeups. One of them did. Hopefully